Gabaldon. And Ronald D. Moore.
Hey, cheers.
You got some stripy ones going on too.
stripy
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you say matching socks?
No, that was,
Be odd to wear odd socks, wouldn't it?
Let's get a little bit of the origin story of how this series of awesome books turned into a fantastic television show. Ron, how did you come across the source material? This is something that your wife turned you on to?
my wife and my producing partner, Meryl. Meryl's my producing partner, Terry's my wife. We were having dinner about 5-6 years ago as Battlestar Galactica was winding down. And they started, we were just talking about future projects and what we were passionate about and what might be something to pursue. And then Meryl and Terry started talking about Outlander, and it turned out they were both huge fans of these books, but had never spoken about it directly. And so they got very animated and very exciting, and I just kept drinking and eating and like whatever. And they said, no, you'll love this, you know, it's right up your alley. You love history and historical fiction and strong female characters, and you'll really like this. So I sat down and read the first book, and I was very taken with it from the very beginning. I really liked the central character of Claire. I responded to the richness and detail of the period, which I didn't know very much about. I didn't know too much about, you know, Scotland in the 18th century, but I was fascinated with it. And I really liked the way the story laid out, that there were a lot of twists and turns and a lot of reversals of fortune that I didn't see coming. And by the time I reached the end of the first book, I was sold. I said, okay, well, this is a great project. I could see how this became a television show. And oh, there's 7 more? Oh, that's great. You know, nice. And so I said, I'm in. And then we tracked down the rights holder, who's a man named Jim Kohlberg. And at that point in time, Jim was interested in pursuing a feature version of Outlander. And I said, well, I really don't think it's a feature. I think it's really a television series. And so we just sort of agreed to disagree at that point and said, let's keep in touch. And literally every year, Meryl would call Jim and say, hey, how's that feature going? And he'd say, well, yeah, we're working on it. And then we'd call back the next year. And this went on for several years. And finally, 2.5 years ago, he said, you know, maybe it is a TV show. And I said, great, I'm in, and brought it to Sony Television, where my production deal is based. And they read it, and they were sold. And then I met with Diana. Meryl and I flew out to Scottsdale, spent a weekend with Diana, sort of talking about the story and the characters and the process of adaptation, how we would approach it. And that was a great meeting. And then we went out and started pitching it, and pitched it to Starz. Left a stack of books about yay big on their table, and they actually read them, which was a shocking thing, you know, because typically if you're taking a book out into the marketplace, studios and networks will buy it, and they'll say, well, basically, we bought this for the cover, and we don't really care what you do with the book. But Starz said something unique. Chris Albrecht, who's the head of Starz, said to me, we love this. Make this show for the fans, and trust that anyone who is not a fan of the books already will become one by the time they see this show. So it was an amazing, amazing thing.
So, Diana. This man shows up with his beautiful flowing hair and says, I'm going to make your books into a TV show. What worked for you about his pitch or his vision, or were there some tension? Tell me everything.
Oh, no, there was actually no tension. Mind you, this was not in any way my call to make. The option belonged to Jim Kohlberg. He could dispose of it as he liked, or make any arrangement he wanted. But yeah, but once I met with Ron and Meryl, we had a really good time. We found out that we were more or less on the same wavelength. They were talking, you know, character, basically. And, you know, this is the central thing of a story. I mean, in any story, it's always about the characters. And that's what I'd appreciated about Ron's work prior to that. And I certainly appreciated it in regard to my own characters, in that he appreciated who these people were, and that who they were was the heart of the story. It didn't have that much to do with the setting or the time travel or whatever. It was who this woman is, you know, and what she's going to become and what's going to happen, and who is this man or these men, as the case may be, and what is their relationship with her. And that's what drives the story. And I said, yes, you got it, exactly. And they discussed with me their ideas for adaptation. Now, I have some small experience in translating text into visual images. I used to write comic books for Walt Disney, but and I have written a graphic novel based on Outlander. But you know, it's a different beast. There are things you can do in visual images that you can't do in text, and vice versa. There's a lot of stuff you can do in text that you can't do in a visual image. But both of those have their strengths, and I see them as very complementary things, not competing at all. So I was totally thrilled at the idea of having a guaranteed 16-episode season rather than a 2-hour feature film.
Much better deal.
Yeah.
And so the heart of the show, of course, is Claire's character, which you probably set out to cast first, but I hear it came right down to the wire.
Well, at the outset of the project, I said, because I'm an idiot, I said, you know, we're going to cast Claire first, and Jamie's going to be the one that we'll cast at the last minute because, you know, in the books, Jamie's the king of men, and he's all these things that the fans built up in their heads, and who the hell's going to be that, you know? So I think that's going to take forever, and of course it was exactly the opposite. Sam was the very first one that we cast, and it was just a very simple process. The tape came in, and the word went around the office like lightning, like, we found him. And I was like, what? We're just beginning. He said, no, you got to see this tape. Watch the tape, and sure enough, it was like, oh my God, there he is. That's him. So let's grab him now, you know, don't be stupid. And then it was the great Scarlett O'Hara search to find Claire. You know, it was a very difficult role. It's every scene, every day. It's a tremendous amount of work. I said that, to me, the fundamental quality of the character was her intelligence. You had to have an actress that really projected, you know, this really smart quality, because she lands in this time and she's able to adapt very quickly. And I said everything flows from her intelligence, her strength of character, her adaptability, her sexuality, you know, her warmth. All of it is because of this mind and this sort of intelligence. So you had to have somebody that you could watch think on camera, and someone who was going to be talking to you in voiceover. So it turned out that was a much more difficult proposition than I think I anticipated at the outset. And we saw a lot of really good, really talented actresses, and we just kept saying, no, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. And we were getting really close. We're starting to sweat it a little bit because we were approaching the shooting point. And then Katrina's tape came in, and it was a very similar thing to the discovery of Sam. It was just this word went around like lightning. We found her, and I was like, really? And looked at the tape and went, oh my God, there she is. And then we said, let's put her and Sam together and see what the chemistry was. The chemistry was great, and that was it. And we were just sold.
And Katrina, you're sort of playing two roles in a way. Someone in 1945, and then someone in the 18th century who's pretending to be someone else. How did you approach your character?
Well, I really don't see Claire as playing two roles at all. I think she's essentially the same woman. I mean, you know, she's first and foremost a woman of the 40s. She's just after coming off this experience of working on the front lines in the war, you know, the Second World War, and that's kind of the prism with which I sort of see her world through. And when she is thrown into the 1740s, everything is happening to her, you know, anew. And it's a very, you know, in one way it's kind of difficult because it's very reactionary, but in another way that's quite easy as an actress, because I believe they did it completely, you know, just to make it feel like it was happening to me for real, because I was thrown in at the last minute. Everything was new. They had my tape for months.
Really.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's a very, very exciting role. It's you know, she's such a strong character. She's very complex. And it really, you know, it's just such a dream role as an actress to get to play.
And you said backstage it's a very physical role. I think you also had to do some like nurses training or something as part of this. What was that all about?
Oh, I do a mean bandage. No, it was really, you know, these are some of the great things about being an actor, is like with each project you get to learn these new skills. I'm not a nurse, but you know, it was great. We have a consultant on set, and she sourced this document that was from the war. It was a British Army document, and it was all about bandaging in the wartime. And you know, myself and funnily enough, her name was Claire, our on-set doctor. So Claire and I sat down, and we kind of discussed the different you know, kind of things that we could use within.
From the 1940s? No.
So weird. She has whiskey-colored eyes and curly hair. Maybe she should have played me.
She'd be really
But, you know, yeah, and, but it's a very physical role, and a lot of it happens wearing a corset and many yards of heavy, heavy wool, which is not always the easiest thing.
Can I say, when we're doing that episode and the next one as well, there was a lot of continuity in the bandages, and our continuity woman would just like hold up her hands and be like, I don't know how to do it. Get Katrina over, and Katrina come over and just be like, oh my God, what have you done? She's obviously from the Bronx.
I get very protective
like, oh my
of
God.
the state of Sam's bandages.
Oh my God, what have you done? And she'd redo the bandages, and they're perfect every time. So she's very good.
I love that you're cracking out your New York accent in New
Yeah.
York. That's brilliant.
I kind of fit in, don't you think?
It's great.
I'm walking in here.
Hey.
So Sam, I've got about 300,000 questions from women on the internet for Sam that were sent in today.
Should we go away and come back?
We won't
I mean,
get
who's
through
this
all
show
of them.
really about?
But talk to us about being an 18th century man, because this is, you know, for those of us who hang out with guys from Brooklyn with top knots and beards, and they're very sensitive. This is a different kind of man that we're watching from our homes in 2014.
Jamie's very sensitive. No, it's a great character to play. There's you sort of meet him at the start of the story, and he's displaced, and he's come back to Scotland, and there he is. And I think it's slowly just teasing with you about who he is, and I think through the course of the series you're going to find out more about him. The books are a great source of inspiration, but for me it was about going back to Scotland. I'm originally from Scotland, and I'd been away for a long time, and so thank Scottish people. Oh, really? Oh, I'm Scottish. Yeah. No, it's really good. It's to go back, and I think I just felt a lot of empathy with Jamie. I think going back to my home country, and sort of the place I was born, and there's a lot of stories there and a lot of memories, and it just feels right.
And I hear that you can put on the kilt faster than anyone else.
Yeah, pretty quick.
You're the quickest.
Yeah, you have to, obviously, I was about to do it then. You have to lie down on the floor, and you pleat it up, and there's a long process. You pleat it up into these, and then you lie on the floor in your trailer, which is smaller than you are.
Yeah.
Sometimes your feet up.
It makes the trailer rock a lot, let me just tell you. I'm like, what exactly is going on in there?
So, if the trailer's rocking,
Don't come knocking.
getting my kilt on. Yeah. No, it's
I've
and
heard
then
it called a lot
obviously,
of things, but
yeah, you can wear it in many different ways, and I think even it's a discovery of you know what the kilt can do, and that was all down to Ron's wife Terry, who's a fantastic costume designer. Terry, best part. I think we've all found a way into the character is definitely through the costumes. You know, this period makes you stand a certain way, and for myself, you know, it was really interesting to discover, you know, that side of the Highland culture.
Mm-hmm. Tobias. Katrina says she's not playing two different characters, so that question was crap for her, but you're definitely playing two different characters.
I'm not playing two different characters. No, I am playing two different characters. That's right. Yeah.
And so